Listen closely, because this is not a small message, and it is not something you should just ignore. There is someone deeply connected to your heart, and right now they are carrying a burden that has grown much bigger than they can quietly handle on their own. It is affecting their thoughts, it is affecting their peace, and whether you clearly notice it yet or not, it is also affecting you. Something is shifting behind the scenes. Something real is unfolding in a quiet and unseen way. Even though it is not fully visible yet, its presence can still be strongly felt. You may have already noticed it through small moments, sudden thoughts that entered your mind out of nowhere, memories that appeared without warning, or a strange heaviness that arrived for no clear reason. That feeling is not happening by chance. It is a signal. It is a sign that this connection is moving through an important period of change. So, stay with this message, because what you are about to understand may help explain what your heart has been quietly trying to process for a long time. Do not rush through these words. Do not brush them aside too fast. What is happening now could become a turning point in ways you cannot fully imagine yet. The person connected to your heart is carrying confusion, pressure, and emotions they are no longer able to fully hide from themselves. On the outside, they may still seem perfectly fine. They may continue acting as they always have. They may keep themselves busy and speak as though everything in their life is completely under control. But deep within them, something is beginning to catch up. Thoughts they worked hard to avoid are slowly returning. Emotions they pushed deep inside are rising back to the surface once again. This moment is not asking you to panic. It is asking for your attention, your patience, and your steady heart. What happens next is not something to fear. It is something that deserves understanding. There is a door inside them that has stayed closed for far too long. And now, life itself is gently but steadily pressing against that door. Your person is not only dealing with pressure from the outside world. The greater struggle is happening inside their own heart and mind. It is the battle between what feels comfortable and what feels true. For a long time, they tried to move forward without honestly facing certain emotions that never fully disappeared. They convinced themselves that staying busy would be enough. They believed that time alone would heal what they kept avoiding. They thought they could bury certain memories, silence certain emotions, and still keep living as if nothing had happened. But some truths refuse to stay buried forever. Some emotions always find their way back to the surface. And some connections never lose their meaning simply because they have been ignored. They continue to exist quietly, even through distance and silence. That is exactly where they are now. Thoughts they once managed to escape are returning during the quiet moments at the end of long days. Feelings they worked so hard to ignore are becoming stronger inside them. Their heart is asking questions that their mind can no longer fully avoid. This creates distraction and emotional confusion that they struggle to explain even to themselves. One part of them longs for clarity. Another part is afraid of what true clarity might demand. One part wants to move closer. Another part remembers old pain and pulls them backward. If their energy has seemed mixed or inconsistent, this is the reason. If they appear close one day and distant the next, this is also why. It is not always because they do not care. In many cases, it is because they care far more deeply than they know how to manage. When emotions become too strong and too complicated, people often step away, not because they feel nothing, but because they are overwhelmed by everything they are feeling. Keep listening, because this matters much more than it first appears. What they are experiencing is not empty confusion. It is not meaningless hesitation. It is pressure slowly building toward a moment they will not be able to avoid forever. Even though you cannot see everything happening from the outside, that does not mean nothing is changing. Some of the greatest changes in a person's life begin quietly in places where no one else can see them, just as roots grow deep beneath the ground before a tree rises into view, and just as a strong foundation is laid before a house is built. Emotional growth often begins long before any visible action appears. Your person is living in that hidden stage right now. They are beginning to understand that what once felt comfortable no longer brings them real peace. Old distractions are slowly losing their power. The things they once relied on to avoid their emotions are no longer working the way they used to. Silence now feels louder than before, distraction has become weaker, and the emotions inside them are becoming harder to ignore. Something much deeper within them is asking for honesty. Honesty always changes the direction of a person's life, even when that change feels uncomfortable in the beginning. The moment someone honestly sees what they have been avoiding, they can never fully return to pretending everything is fine. Something inside them changes forever, even if that change happens slowly. That is why restlessness has kept growing. That is why the same thoughts keep returning again and again. That is why this connection keeps appearing in their mind, even while they try to focus on other things. You may have experienced something similar yourself. You may have noticed old memories returning without warning. You may have felt emotions rise unexpectedly without understanding why. You may have sensed that something between you and this person still feels unfinished. Do not completely ignore that feeling, but also do not let it steal your peace. There is movement happening here. It is quiet movement, but it is real. When change begins inside a person, outward change usually follows in time, even if it does not happen right away. Growth within the heart often takes longer before it becomes visible through actions, conversations, and choices. Right now, your role is not to force answers. It is not to chase clarity before the right moment arrives. It is not to create conclusions, simply to calm your uncertainty. Your role is to stay steady while everything unfolds naturally. That is true strength. Not loud strength, not emotional chaos, but quiet, peaceful strength. It is the kind of strength that stays calm even when emotions become intense, the kind that does not fall apart because answers take longer than expected, the kind that refuses to let fear write the ending before the full truth has had a chance to appear. This season is teaching both of you valuable lessons. While they are learning accountability, you are learning patience. While they are clear, they may continue moving back and forth between clarity and confusion. But something inside them is changing direction. The comfort they once protected is beginning to feel less secure than the truth they have been trying so hard to avoid. When that shift truly begins, life can suddenly move much faster than anyone expects. A conversation that once seemed impossible can suddenly become possible. A truth that stayed hidden for so long can finally rise to the surface. A guarded heart can slowly begin to open once again. So if everything has felt slow, do not assume it will stay that way forever. And if there has been distance between you, do not believe that distance has to last forever. Some of life's biggest changes arrive after long seasons of silence. Some of the clearest truths appear only after long periods of emotional waiting. Your role right now is not to lose hope. Your role is to stay aware, remain steady, and keep your heart open enough to notice when things begin to change in real life, not only in your emotions. There are also outside influences surrounding them, and not every influence is leading them in the right direction. Some voices encourage growth, honesty, and reflection. Other voices pull them back toward comfort and avoidance. Some situations push them to think more deeply about their life. Others encourage distraction, so they never have to face what truly matters. This is one reason their energy may seem unstable. Some days they feel clear, focused, and confident. Other days they become uncertain once again. At certain moments, they feel ready to face everything honestly, but then fear returns, old wounds reopen, and hesitation takes over once more. Do not mistake that hesitation for a lack of love or feeling. Very often, hesitation comes from feeling too much all at once and not knowing how to carry those emotions in a healthy way. They are struggling with vulnerability. They are struggling with emotional growth. They are struggling with the question of what life will look like after the truth is finally spoken. That fear is real, but it will not remain stronger than the truth forever. Sooner or later, truth becomes louder than fear. And when that moment finally arrives, everything begins to shift in ways that become impossible to ignore. You may begin to notice small signs at first, a change in their tone, a slightly gentler response, a moment of honesty that feels different than before, or a shift in their energy that seems more genuine. Pay attention to those little changes, because they often matter much more than they appear. Growth rarely happens perfectly. It usually does not arrive all at once. Most of the time, it develops slowly, one step at a time, sometimes in ways that even feel awkward or uncertain. But even the smallest step forward is still progress. If you wait only for perfect results, you might miss the first signs of real transformation. At the same time, something meaningful is happening inside you as well. This season is not only changing them, it is also changing you. You are learning how to protect your peace without closing your heart. You are learning to trust your own understanding instead of always looking for reassurance from others. You are learning how to stay calm, even when answers take longer than expected. You are learning how to remain emotionally steady, even when life feels uncertain. These are not easy lessons, but they are valuable ones that stay with you long after this chapter is over. So, continue with patience. Keep your heart open without becoming overwhelmed. Keep your thoughts clear without letting fear take control. Allow time to do its work without trying to force results before they are ready. In the end, what is meant to become clear will reveal itself. These lessons matter because the next stage of this connection will require maturity from both of you. Not perfection, but maturity. The ability to listen without rushing to defend yourself. The ability to speak honestly without turning every fear into reality. The ability to pause, understand, and answer with care instead of reacting too quickly. The ability to choose truth over old habits that once controlled emotions without being noticed. Maybe a year ago, this situation would have affected you much more deeply than it does today. Perhaps back then, uncertainty would have quickly taken over your thoughts and your emotions would have been pulled in every direction. But you are no longer the same person. Life has quietly shaped you in ways that are both gentle and powerful. The delays did not only test your patience, they also helped you grow. Disappointment did not only bring pain, it strengthened your ability to stand back up every time life knocked you down. Every difficult season gave you something valuable, even if you could not recognize it at the time. None of what you experienced was wasted. Every moment helped shape the person you are becoming. It prepared you for moments like this, where emotional stability matters more than emotional reaction. That kind of stability is rare. It develops slowly through experience, self-reflection, and personal growth. So, do not overlook your progress. Do not focus only on what still feels uncertain or unfinished. Instead, take a closer look at who you have become through everything you have faced. Notice how your reactions have changed. Notice how your heart no longer rushes into fear the way it once did. Notice how you are now able to sit with uncertainty without letting it break you inside. That inner strength will become important when the next part of this journey begins to unfold. And that next chapter may not begin in the dramatic way many people imagine. It may not arrive through huge confessions or emotional scenes. Instead, it may begin quietly, through a simple message, through a peaceful conversation, through a moment when silence starts feeling heavier than honesty. And when that moment arrives, do not expect perfection. Expect sincerity instead. Expect genuine human emotion. Expect uncomfortable pauses, unfinished sentences, and truth that comes out little by little instead of all at once. Most people do not reveal everything in a single conversation. More often, they reveal what is in their heart, step by step, sharing small pieces that slowly create a much bigger picture. Sometimes, the very first sign of change is not a dramatic confession. Sometimes, it is simply that someone stops running away from their feelings. Even that small step carries great meaning. Because when avoidance comes to an end, awareness begins. And when awareness begins, something within the situation starts to move forward. If that moment comes, do not listen only to the words being spoken. Listen to what lies beneath them. Pay attention to the emotion behind the message. Notice the courage it took to speak honestly. Notice the movement from silence toward expression. Notice how truth begins to appear where fear once controlled everything. This is important because real change often looks much softer than people expect. It does not always arrive through confident or powerful words. Sometimes it comes through hesitation. Sometimes it appears through imperfect honesty, through someone admitting something they have carried in their heart for a very long time but never found the courage to say aloud. That kind of honesty may seem small, but it has the power to change everything. So remain calm and stay wise. Do not let old fears make you misread a new truth. This situation is still unfolding, even if parts of it continue to feel uncertain or still. There are quiet changes taking place behind the scenes, creating a new direction, even if you cannot fully see it yet. Even now, when it feels like nothing is happening, something is becoming clearer. Something is slowly arranging itself for the next stage. When that change finally becomes visible, your emotional balance will matter more than anything else. It will help you respond with wisdom instead of panic. There is a reason this connection has felt heavier in recent days. There is a reason your intuition has become stronger. There is a reason certain memories, thoughts, and emotions keep returning without warning. None of these patterns are meaningless. They are part of a deeper process that calls for awareness instead of confusion. This season is not only about emotions, it is also about personal growth. It is about learning. It is about finally facing what has remained unresolved. The pressure you are feeling is not here to destroy what matters. Instead, it is revealing what is real and what can no longer stay hidden. Fear always pushes people toward quick reactions. It encourages assumptions. It wants protection at any cost. It wants you to close your heart before anything can hurt you again. But wisdom follows a different path. Wisdom asks you to stay grounded, observe carefully, and wait until the truth becomes clear instead of reacting to uncertainty. That difference matters now more than ever. What is happening is not only emotional, it is also a journey of deep personal growth for both of you. It is about becoming more self-aware. It is about recognizing patterns that have repeated for far too long. It is about learning healthier ways to respond to emotional truth. The pressure surrounding this connection is not meant to break it. It is showing what is strong enough to last and what can no longer stay hidden. That is why emotions feel much closer to the surface. That is why even small moments seem more meaningful than usual. That is why silence sometimes feels heavy instead of empty. Beneath everything, growth is quietly taking place. Growth within you. Growth within them. Growth within the connection itself. Growth is rarely comfortable while it is happening. It does not always feel organized or predictable. Very often it feels confusing before it finally begins to make sense. Clarity does not appear overnight. It develops gradually through choices, honest moments, and small changes in behavior and understanding. Little by little, everything begins to make more sense. Even if you still cannot see the whole picture, hold on to that truth, especially if waiting has left you feeling tired or unsure about what comes next. The story is not over. It is still unfolding. What happens next will depend on decisions that have not yet been fully made. Their choices matter. Your choices matter. The decision to stop hiding emotions matters. The decision to speak honestly instead of making assumptions matters. The decision to welcome truth with openness instead of fear will shape what comes next. They are reaching a point where they must choose between staying silent or finally facing what they truly feel. At the same time, you are reaching a point where you must decide whether fear will control your peace or whether wisdom will guide your response. That is why this moment matters so much. Not because everything has already been decided, but because something is becoming ready to change. This is not only about what they feel, it is also about who both of you are becoming through everything you have experienced. Strong connections are not proven during easy seasons. They are revealed during uncertain ones. They grow stronger when clarity takes time and emotions become complicated. If something is truly real, it does not disappear simply because the road becomes difficult. Instead, it is tested, refined, and either strengthened or released. If you have been wondering whether anything meaningful is happening, the answer is yes. Something important is taking place. Something deep is changing. Old silence is beginning to lose its power. Old resistance is becoming weaker. Old confusion is slowly starting to fall apart. As those old barriers begin to break, something more honest can finally appear. Something clearer. Something more genuine than what existed before. When that truth begins to rise to the surface, your inner peace will help you respond with understanding instead of emotional overwhelm. Protect your heart, but do not make it hard. Stay open enough to recognize the truth while remaining steady enough not to lose yourself in uncertainty, because the next step in this story may arrive sooner than you expect. When it does, you will need clarity more than fear. Keep that close to your heart as you continue moving forward. The struggle they are facing will not last forever. The confusion will not remain forever. The waiting will not continue forever. Every season eventually changes, even the ones that seem slow, difficult, or heavy. Every experience teaches something at the right time. And no matter how this journey continues from here, you are already far more prepared than you were when it first began.